In war, we often think of bullets and bombs as the biggest threats, but during World War II, soldiers faced a silent enemy. This enemy was colder and more relentless than any human foe. It was the brutal, freezing winter. On the front lines, the temperature would drop far below zero. It was a cold that bit through uniforms and chilled men to the bone. This wasn't just uncomfortable, it was deadly. Frostbite could take a soldier's fingers and toes. Hypothermia could stop a man's heart. This cold was a constant battle, fought every minute of every day. It was a fight for survival against nature itself, and it was a fight many brave men lost. Imagine being in a foxhole. Snow is falling all around you. The wind howls like a hungry wolf. Your clothes are damp, and every gust of wind steals more of your precious body heat. Your fingers are so numb you can barely feel the trigger of your rifle. Your feet feel like blocks of ice. This was the reality for millions of soldiers. They were strong, they were brave, but the cold did not care. It attacked everyone equally. It broke machines, freezing oil and fuel lines. It broke spirits, making men feel hopeless and alone. In the great battles of history, we often forget this simple truth. Before a soldier could fight the enemy, he had to survive the weather. The winter campaigns of World War II were famous for their harshness. In places like the Ardennes, during the Battle of the Bulge, or on the Eastern Front, the cold was a weapon. It could stop an entire army in its tracks. Tanks and trucks would not start. Guns would jam. More importantly, the cold weakened the soldiers. A cold soldier is a slow soldier. His mind is foggy, and his body is weak. He cannot think clearly or move quickly. The cold drained their energy, their will, and their ability to fight. It was a constant, grinding pressure that never let up, day or night. This unseen enemy claimed thousands of lives without firing a single shot. It was a war within a war. Commanders knew that keeping their men warm was as important as supplying them with ammunition. A warm soldier could fight, he could march, and he could think. A freezing soldier was already halfway to defeat. The struggle against the cold was a desperate one. They needed a solution, something better than what they had. They needed a breakthrough that could turn the tide against this invisible, deadly force. The answer would come from an unexpected place, a simple idea that would change everything. For centuries, the best answer to cold was wool. Soldiers were given thick wool coats, heavy wool blankets, and multiple layers of wool socks. Wool is a fantastic natural material. It can keep you warm even when it gets a little wet. It's strong and has been trusted by humanity for a very long time. So, the armies of World War II relied on it. They gave their soldiers the best wool gear they could make. On paper, it seemed like a good plan. Layer upon layer of thick fabric should keep a man warm. But, on the battlefield, the old ways started to fail. The problem was that the conditions were more extreme than anyone had prepared for. The front lines were not a dry, comfortable place. They were filled with mud, snow, and rain. A soldier's uniform would get wet, and when wool gets truly soaked, it becomes incredibly heavy. A wet wool coat could weigh a huge amount, making it exhausting for a soldier to move. It also loses much of its ability to keep you warm. The water fills all the air pockets that normally trap heat. Instead of an insulator, the wet wool became a heavy, cold sheet wrapped around the body. It would pull heat away from a soldier, making him colder, faster. The very thing meant to protect them was now working against them. Think about the life of a soldier. He might have to lie in a snowy ditch for hours, waiting for the enemy. He might have to cross a river or march through freezing rain. His gear would get soaked, and there was often no chance to dry it. A fire was a beacon for the enemy, so it was often too dangerous to make one. Soldiers had to endure the cold with wet, heavy clothes clinging to them. The wool blankets were just as bad. They got wet, they got heavy, and they offered little comfort. This was a serious problem. The old, trusted solution was failing the men who needed it most. This failure had terrible consequences. Soldiers were suffering from exposure in massive numbers. The cold was winning. The generals and scientists knew they needed something new. They needed a material that was light, that worked even when wet, and that could be produced quickly for millions of men. Wool was heavy, bulky, and not working well enough in the worst conditions. They needed a revolution in clothing technology. The answer wasn't going to be a thicker coat or a bigger blanket. It had to be something smarter, something more efficient. The search was on for a new way to conquer the cold. The solution came from the sky. Pilots flying high-altitude bombing missions faced some of the most extreme cold on the planet. At 30,000 feet, the air outside their planes could be minus 50 degrees Celsius or colder. Their bombers were not pressurized or well heated like modern airliners. The cold was so intense it was like being in a deep freezer. The pilots and their crews needed special gear to survive even a short time at that altitude. Their thick leather flight jackets were good, but they needed something more. They needed an extra layer of protection against the brutal, life-threatening cold. This need sparked a brilliant invention. Engineers and designers got to work. They knew they couldn't just add more heavy wool. Pilots needed to be able to move freely in the cramped cockpit of a bomber. The gear had to be lightweight and not bulky. They looked at a new idea: trapping air. They knew that the best insulator is not the material itself, but the air it can trap. So they created a special liner. It was a thin, quilted jacket designed to be worn underneath the main flight jacket. This liner was not made of wool. It was made with a synthetic outer shell and filled with a special new material, a fluffy batting that was excellent at trapping air. This new jacket insert was a game-changer for the air crews. It was incredibly light and thin, but it provided an amazing amount of warmth. Because the outer shell was a smooth, synthetic fabric, it also helped to block wind and resist moisture. Unlike wool, it did not get heavy when it got damp, and it dried much faster. The pilots and gunners who wore these liners found they could endure the extreme cold of high-altitude flights much better. It was their secret weapon against the cold. It kept them alert and functional when their lives depended on it. Word of this amazing new piece of gear began to spread. Down on the ground, the infantry soldiers were still freezing in their heavy wool coats. As stories of the pilots' warm liners trickled down, army commanders took notice. If this simple insert could work in the extreme cold of the upper atmosphere, could it also work for the soldiers in the frozen trenches? The idea was simple, but powerful. Take this lightweight, efficient technology from the Air Force and give it to the ground troops. It was a chance to finally give the common soldier a real advantage against the winter. This pilot's secret was about to become the infantryman's lifeline. The genius of the jacket liner was its simplicity. It worked based on a principle that ancient survivalists have always known. Trapped air is the best insulation. Your body produces heat. The goal of winter clothing is not to create heat, but to stop your body's heat from escaping. The jacket insert did this better than anything before it. It was made of 2 layers of thin nylon or rayon fabric, stitched together in a wavy or diamond pattern. Inside these stitched pockets was a lightweight batting, usually made from a type of early polyester or even reprocessed wool fibers that were fluffed up to be mostly air. Here is how it worked. First, the liner trapped a layer of still air between the soldier's body and the cold outside. This pocket of air, warmed by the soldier's own body, acted as a buffer. Second, the synthetic material of the liner did not absorb water like wool or cotton. If a soldier started to sweat from marching, the moisture would pass through the liner instead of soaking into it. This is called wicking. It kept the layer of insulation next to the skin much drier. A dry soldier is a warm soldier. Even if the outer coat got soaked with rain or snow, the liner underneath would stay remarkably dry and warm. This was a massive advantage. A soldier could wear this thin liner under his standard field jacket. It added incredible warmth without adding much weight or bulk. This meant he could move faster and with less effort. He was less tired at the end of a long march. When he had to stop and wait in the cold, the liner kept his core body temperature stable. This prevented the onset of hypothermia. The liners were also easy to care for. They could be washed and would dry very quickly, unlike a heavy wool coat that could take days to dry out completely. This was a practical solution for men living in difficult conditions. For the soldiers on the ground, receiving one of these liners was a miracle. It was a small thing, just a thin quilted jacket, but it made the difference between misery and relative comfort, and sometimes between life and death. A soldier who was warm could stay alert on guard duty. He could aim his weapon with steady hands. He could make better decisions. The jacket insert didn't just protect their bodies from the cold, it protected their ability to be effective soldiers. This simple, lightweight layer, first designed for pilots, became one of the most important pieces of survival equipment for the infantry in the war. The amazing thing about this life-saving technology is that you can make one yourself. The principle is still the same today. You just need to trap air in a lightweight layer. You can make a simple survival liner at home with basic materials. This is a great skill to have for any emergency, whether you are camping, your car breaks down in winter, or the power goes out at home. It's cheap, it's easy, and it could keep you warm when you need it most. All you need are a few simple items that you might already have around the house. This is a real survival skill that works. Here is a simple way to do it. First, find 2 large rectangular pieces of lightweight fabric. Old bed sheets or thin nylon from an old tent or jacket work well. You will also need some stuffing. The best stuffing is anything light and fluffy that traps air. You can use cotton balls, polyester pillow stuffing, or even carefully collected dryer lint. Lay 1 piece of fabric on the floor. Spread your stuffing evenly across it. Don't make it too thick. You want it to be light and airy. Just a thin, fluffy layer is all you need to trap a lot of air and provide warmth. Next, take the second piece of fabric and lay it on top, creating a sandwich. The stuffing is the filling in the middle. Now you need to hold it all together. You can use a needle and thread, a stapler, or even strong tape like duct tape. Start by securing the edges all the way around. Then, to keep the stuffing from moving around, you need to stitch or staple through all 3 layers in a few places. You can do this in lines or in a simple grid pattern, just like the original World War II liners. This creates the quilted effect and ensures the insulation stays evenly spread out. You have now created a simple survival blanket or liner. You can wrap it around your body under your coat for incredible warmth. Or, you can use it as a super warm blanket in a cold house or a tent. It is very light, but it will be much warmer than a simple blanket because you have created many small air pockets. This simple project uses the exact same science that kept soldiers alive in the coldest battles of history. It proves that you don't need expensive gear to survive. Sometimes the smartest solutions are the simplest ones. Today we have high-tech winter jackets with amazing materials like Gore-Tex and Primaloft. It is easy to forget the simple inventions that came before them. The World War II jacket liner is a forgotten hero of survival history. It was not a weapon, it did not make a loud noise, but it saved countless lives by defeating the silent enemy of cold. It reminds us that sometimes, the most powerful innovations are not the most complicated. A simple idea, like trapping air in a thin layer, can have a massive impact. This liner gave soldiers the endurance and resilience they needed to carry on. The story of the jacket liner is a lesson in ingenuity. When the old solution, heavy wool, failed, people did not just give up. They thought differently. They looked at the problem from a new angle and used the materials they had to create a better answer. This kind of thinking is at the heart of all survival. It's about adapting and overcoming challenges with the tools and knowledge you have. The liner's journey from an exclusive piece of pilot's gear to a standard issue item for every soldier also shows the importance of sharing good ideas. A good solution should be shared with everyone who needs it. This piece of history is still incredibly relevant today. The principles behind the jacket liner can help anyone who faces the cold. Understanding how to trap air and stay dry is the foundation of staying warm. The homemade liner project shows that you can create your own effective survival gear without spending a lot of money. This knowledge empowers you. It gives you control over your own safety and comfort in a bad situation. Whether you are an outdoor adventurer or just want to be prepared for an emergency, the lessons from this simple quilted jacket are priceless. It's about being smart, not just strong. So the next time you put on a modern, lightweight, puffy jacket, take a moment to remember its ancestor. Think of that simple quilted liner from World War II. It stands as a testament to human creativity in the face of hardship. It is proof that small, simple inventions can change the course of history, one soldier at a time. It's a reminder that survival is often a battle of wits, and the best weapon you can have is a good idea. History may forget the names of the inventors, but the legacy of their life-saving creation lives on in every warm layer we wear today.